Hello, everyone. This is Kate Stillman with the Yoga Healer Podcast, and I'm here with Lynn Lehmkuhl of elderchairyoga.com. She has a book called Chair Yoga for Seniors, Stretches and Poses that you can do sitting down at home. Lynn is a yoga therapist, and what I was thinking we would do today is talk a little bit. I know in my community, a lot of people are taking care of their parents. A lot of people are really frustrated and trying to help their parents, maintain their functionality and quality of life. And so I thought it would be great to have you on to give us some tips and also to share some success stories, maybe with some of the seniors that'll be listening to this podcast, as far as what is possible, even when it feels like you've given up.
Sounds great.
Okay. So yeah, where do you want to start?
I would like to start with why, as a registered yoga teacher, why I chose to go the path of chair yoga. And I would say specifically for seniors, but not exclusively.
Yeah.
I actually got my certification in 2001. I was still very much immersed in my previous career of advertising, but had been a yogi for years and just really drawn to the practice and the benefits of the practice. So I decided to get my certification because I imagined that someday, maybe in my 80s, I would become be a yoga teacher. But that happened a lot sooner than I expected. And about maybe 8 years ago, I decided to leave advertising. It was time. It's a young person's business, very young person's business, and to really focus on my training. And I live in New York City. There are yoga programs that produce scores and scores of newly minted yoga teachers every day. And I decided that would be silly to get into that fray. So I really just gave it a lot of thought about where in the world of yoga, what segment could possibly be something that I could embrace and have an impact on, and that where there was a need. And just kind of coincidentally at that time, about 8 years ago, I just kept hearing about chair yoga and the growth of the popularity of chair yoga. So I thought that sounded really interesting. Didn't grow up in my yoga experience with that. So I searched around and I found that there was this woman in California who was really considered the preeminent teacher of chair yoga, who taught yoga teachers the practice. And very luckily, it was maybe 3 weeks later, she was showing up at the Open Center in New York City to teach yoga teachers this practice. So I signed up and studied with her and just really kind of fell in love with it, because without really knowing much about it, as a yoga teacher, and someone tells you that you could have truly a complete practice in a chair, it really didn't sound very true to me until I took this course with Lakshmi Bolker. And what she really taught us teachers is to really be able to give a full yoga class in the chair without ever even getting up from the chair. So I did that. And then I thought, okay, now what do I do? How do I share this? And I found through a friend a program, an Alzheimer's program, like a daycare Alzheimer's program where I'll call them clients, not patients. They would come to this place. It's called the Lenox Hill Neighborhood House every day from like 9 to 3. And there would be all of these things that the social workers did with these people. And I reached out and asked if they would like me to volunteer to come in once a week and teach chair yoga to a group of Alzheimer's patients. I thought that would be a way to start getting experience. And so I did that. I still am doing it on Zoom twice a week because they're not back in the center. And it was the most amazing experience for me. I'll never forget on the subway ride to the center for my very first time using my newly acquired skills in teaching chair yoga. I was kind of plagued thinking, what am I going to do? What should I start with? And I thought, stop. You've been practicing for decades. This is your heart and soul yoga. And you've always believed that yoga is truly for everyone. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, just go with it. And went in, and it was so amazing, this experience. People really didn't, a lot of them actually really didn't understand my words. Mm-hmm. And so it required me, and which I use still to this day, it required me to be very physically expressive. Mm-hmm. And to really not just talk about moves, but really do them, and do them really in kind of an exaggerated way to really be able to break through. And I was able to actually, and now for the past 8 years working with this group, get people to move who aren't moving anymore, or who have lost the desire, ability, interest in being physical and being mobile. Mm-hmm. And it was and continues to be an amazing experience, and really solidified my belief that this was a very important segment of the yoga market. Mm-hmm. So that's how I came to it. And now I have a thriving business. It got knocked around a little, needless to say, during the pandemic, but I was able to get people to embrace, people who are technophobes, typically by virtue of age, to embrace Zoom. Mm-hmm. So I was teaching a lot of one-on-one through Zoom, and now pretty much almost completely back doing one-on-one in people's homes, and the occasional workplace class, for people who they're working all day and don't have time to change out of their clothing and put on exercise clothing. Yeah. Got in and do like half-hour classes at lunchtime, seated yoga, and it's been it's good. It's been very successful.
Great. So in terms of chair yoga and where you start, with people that are either doing it themselves or helping their parents, or maybe teaching chair, or wanting to switch from just teaching yoga to chair yoga, where do you start?
Well, I did write a book, and my focus and intent was to demystify the experience, because if you're a yogi, and if you've practiced yoga ever at any point in your life, and then for whatever reason you're currently, say, confined to, you're just not mobile anymore, or you've limited mobility, or if you're confined to a wheelchair, you can just do a YouTube video. You can find ways of adapting. But my goal has always been, and continues to be, to introduce yoga to people who probably have never practiced, and then chair yoga, because what chair yoga does, what it communicates to someone who is physically, let's say, frailer than they have been in the past, to say to someone who is so afraid of falling, has balance issues, is really not someone who's exercised a lot in their life, to be able to say, sit down, just sit. Do you feel safe? You do feel safe. Okay, now we begin. So the key to chair yoga, especially for seniors, is to remove any of the anxiety-provoking aspects of yoga, exercise, anything in that realm. So it's sit down. Okay, I feel safe. All right, let's move. So again, what I mentioned, I want to demystify. Yeah. So don't start off. I don't talk about chanting or mind body experience. That comes as any of us.
Yeah. Well, what seems really evident here is like you meet people where they're at, right? And so if people are sedentary,
Yes.
you start sedentary, like that's how it should begin.
Absolutely. And look, if someone is just they happen to be sedentary and haven't gotten to the place where they're afraid of falling or concerned about balance issues, then a goal, it's kind of a secondary goal of mine, is to have them embrace the experience to a degree where they want more.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I can do some things out of the chair.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
But right off the bat, most people's mental image who aren't, haven't practiced yoga, they just picture someone doing down dog on a mat or down on the.
Yeah. Or putting a foot behind their head, right? They hear yoga and they think pretzel person.
Oh, or if I go down on that mat, I'm never getting back up. It's like.
Yeah. Right. Which is really real in a culture that has, that has elderly obesity, where upper body strength is low, where there's a lot of weight in the lower half of the body. Like it is hard to push yourself off the floor. And I mean, one of the things that drew me to yoga in my 20s was like, wow, if I did this for the rest of my life, I'd always be able to get off the floor.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that I use with some of my elderly clients, and I get very real with this. We do things, it's really in just about every modality, especially working with seniors, the concept of sit to stand.
Oh yeah.
Doing this. And
so what Lynn's doing is she's getting up and out of her chair. She's putting weight through both of her feet and lifting up. Yeah. Do you want to describe how you do that actually? Because that I think is really helpful.
Oh gosh.
People have weird ways of getting out of chairs, especially, in the eyes of a yoga teacher.
All right. I'm going to start if you have upper body weakness and, or if you struggle with obesity, that certainly is a factor here. Probably the best thing to do is to be in a chair with arms. The ideal is no arms, where you're using just your body to lift yourself out of a chair. But let's start with using arms. So holding on to the arms of the chair. Let me pull back. Sit up nice and tall. It's my constant reminder. Sit up tall, lengthen your spine, take a breath. Slow, steady inhale through the nose. Slow, steady exhale out your mouth. Hold on to the arms of your chair. With that nice tall spine, bend forward a bit and lift yourself. You can use as much as you need to use your arms and the arms of the chair. Lift up, stand up straight, and then gently and slowly bend forward and sit back down. And then right away, sit to stand. We usually do anywhere between 6 and 8 repetitions. Start by elongating the spine, shoulders relaxed, bend forward, lift out of the chair, and then sit back in the chair.
Great. So this is part of like your warm up.
Absolutely. And my communication about sit to stand, because nobody likes it. I often make a joke. I say, all right, this is the one that nobody likes.
And we don't like it because
it's hard to do. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort.
Because there's such a patterned way of getting up and down that to do it with control and mindfulness and to do it with equilateral legs is hard, or
exactly. It takes effort.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort. And I'm often working with people who are really not interested in putting out a lot of, frankly, effort.
Yep.
In terms of what's considered like an exercise class.
Yep.
Okay. So what I communicate about sit to stand, I always say it's the one thing, and this is really very true, that you like the least but should love. Because if you want to always be able to get up off of a toilet by yourself, I mean, I seriously bring it down to that place, because it's real.
It's real.
If you want to be able to always do that, then do sit to stand. And
they're doing it every day. So it's right there, and it's not getting easier. So
it's not,
so do people report after they're working on sit to stand for a couple of weeks that it gets easier to get on and off the toilet?
Absolutely. And we especially with a group that I'm consistently working with, I can see the, where maybe it started where that, leaning forward with one side of your body and then the other to get up, in kind of a cumbersome way. It really happens pretty quickly with consistency.
Yeah.
Is that you start becoming more fluid.
So then they start to see that the body's regenerative when they've already maybe had a mindset that the body's just degenerative.
Exactly, Kate. And if they don't, I will remind them. I am very quick to remind someone, 2 months ago,
yeah,
you could barely get up and it was a struggle. And look at you now. Now you can 6 smooth sit to stands. And I'm always, if someone is starting off with using the arms of the chair as they progress, the goal is to not have any help like that, just to be able to, put your hands on your lap and then get up, or the full expression of the pose, which was always in the 90s, my favorite prompt from a yoga teacher. Because everyone, of course, especially in the 90s, was so goal-oriented in their yoga practice, is to take your hands and cross them on your chest. And what this requires is torso balance, as opposed to using your arms to counterbalance in terms of your weight. So you're getting up with your arms crossed on your chest and then sitting down. So that is the full expression of the sit to stand.
That's our level 3 sit to stand. I love it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So after we do warm-ups on sit to stand, what's next?
Okay. Next is, the very first thing is breath work. This, as you absolutely know, if you haven't done it, if you've never even heard of breath work, you're very new to it. Very, very new to it. So we start off, I don't get crazy with this because I don't, especially a new client, don't want to turn anyone off to this experience. So I start with maybe 3 to 5 slow healing breaths. And my messaging is, it's like you're sipping a breath as opposed to gulping. This is very new, really, to most people.
Yeah.
Okay, so that slow, steady inhale through the nose, and then a slow, steady exhale out your mouth. I don't even use counts. I don't say do it for 5, release for 5. No, I make it simple. Just as much as sip the breath, do it for as long as you can, and exhale. Try to keep your exhale, similar amount of time to your inhale. And I talk about, and then we do that 3 to 5. And then I ask either a class or one person, do you feel like the room just settled? Do you feel like your body just settled? So I point out the experience that I know they're probably having, but probably not thinking about.
Yeah. So
it's, all right, do you feel relaxed? Okay, now let's begin.
Yeah.
I start with the head and I do very slow and gentle neck warm-ups using the breath. So the breath, of course, is used throughout. And I often will comment on one of the biggest differences between practicing yoga and working out in the gym.
Yeah.
Is the breath.
Well, I was thinking as you're, talking about the stands, it's like there's a huge shift in, occupational therapy or physical therapy versus yoga therapy, and in understanding a holistic experience and designing around a holistic experience. And that's really what Eastern medicine has given us Westerners, is like, yes, stop dividing things into pieces and start bringing the pieces into a whole. And number one is like the breath organizes the pieces into the whole. So start to notice what that feeling is like.
Exactly. And to that point, Kate, I work a lot with people who are either currently in a physical therapy program or have recently been in one. And I talk about the differences. Never compare in the sense of what we're doing is better. obviously.
Yeah. No, it's a different, yeah.
Very,
You're going to
very
get a different angle.
But to your point, we're not segmenting on a particular body part that was injured,
Yeah.
but we're working from head to toe in terms of warming up, lengthening muscles, strengthening. I have a lot of emphasis on strengthening, which is, that's really not traditional yoga, but it's important, especially the aging body and the loss of muscle mass.
Yeah, I saw in one of the pictures on your website, there's people using hand weights, just a couple of pound hand weights.
Exactly. Really light weights, but just adding a little bit of heft to our movement. And we usually graduate into that. And because again, I'm very, very, very conscious of not introducing anything, and this is especially for people with aging parents at home, to not introduce anything that could be possibly interpreted as intimidating, exhausting, or complicated. None of that. It's simple. And after each of our poses, like for example, we start off with the inhaling, a slow, steady inhale as we gently and slowly lift the head and gaze up at the ceiling, and then exhale the breath as you bring your head slowly through center and bring your chin to your chest. Inhale again. So we do that 3 times, and then side to side. And I talk about, I said, did you feel that? Did you feel a very gentle stretch in the front of your neck and the back? Now let's feel it in the sides of our neck. Sit up tall, relax your shoulders. Start your slow, steady inhale as you gently and slowly turn your head to the right. Now exhale your breath as you bring your head back through center. Slow and gentle movement. And as you exhale your breath, you look to your left. And then inhale again as you come through center. So we do that 3 times. And then the last one, sitting up tall, shoulders relaxed, looking straight ahead, moving nothing except inhaling your right ear to your right shoulder. Exhale, come up. Inhale your left ear to your left shoulder. You can really feel that stretch and come up. So we do that 3 times. The neck is, and especially as we age, it's so easy to pull a muscle in your neck and to have any kind of neck issues. Very common in seniors to have neck issues, neck pain, neck strain. So we warm up the neck, and then we go to the shoulders, which we know that we carry and hold so much tension and anxiety. So our first move is shoulder shrugs. So it's slow, steady inhale. You slowly and gently bring your shoulders up to your ears, and then exhale your breath as you slowly bring your shoulders down. Let's do it again. Inhale. Slowly and gently bring your shoulders up to your ears, and then exhale your breath as you bring your shoulders down slowly. So we're warming up. We warmed up the neck, and now the shoulders and the upper chest. And then my favorite, shoulder rolls, and many versions of shoulder rolls. So it's inhale your shoulders up and back and around, making a nice big circle. Inhale your shoulders all the way up, all the way back, down and around. Now, this is very awkward, this feeling. Let's reverse that move. Inhale your shoulders up, bring them to the front, down and around. That is, to me, one of the most therapeutic moves you can do. It feels good. I always describe it as it feels, or it should feel, like a self-massage. So after so many of these poses, and especially working with the breath, I ask my client, the person I'm working with, do you feel that? So I'm asking you to really get in touch with how this is making you feel. And doesn't that feel good? And I always get, yes, that feels good. And if it doesn't feel good, let's Let's do it again. Let's make
Mhm.
sure you're doing it properly, because this should feel good. And then, of course, we go to single shoulder rolls, one shoulder at a time, and then reversing, and then the other shoulder. So really a full shoulder and upper back warm up. And then we go to palm rotation, arms straight out to the side. Now, there are times when if you have shoulder issues, this may be difficult to keep your arms straight out from your shoulders. If that's too hard to do, just lower both arms, just have them lifted a bit. And then a full arm rotation. Inhale, palms up, and exhale, palms down. Palms up. And what I like to really point out, especially if I can't see you doing this, you're not just turning your palms up and palms down. You're rotating your entire arm from the shoulder to do palms up and palms down. And then bringing your arms straight out ahead, right in front of you, shoulders are down, straight arms, fingers point down and fingers point up. Fingers point down and fingers point up, and rest. That particular move, the fingers down and up, is wonderful if you have, or if you don't want to have, carpal tunnel. Okay, so that really, now, if you practice traditional yoga, down dog, you're basically always doing that. You're stretching out those tendons right here. But if you're not down, if you're not on a mat, this is a way with the arms straight out, fingers pointing down and fingers pointing up, to get a really good stretch in that part of your forearm. And now we do seated cat-cow. I have a lot of favorites, and people make fun of me sometimes when I say, oh, this one is really my favorite. And then, oh, you said the other one was your favorite. I said, I have so many favorites. And I actually was with a client yesterday who said, oh, I used to do cat-cow down on the floor, and I can't get down on the floor anymore. And I said, well, this is just me, my own personal experience. I feel like seated cat-cow, you can actually get better range than if you're actually doing it on your hands and knees. And cat-cow is a lower, well, it's actually a full spine stretch. And it's probably the one move, the one yoga move, pose, asana, that is recommended across modalities. Chiropractors, orthopedists, physical therapists. Everyone has recognized the value of a cat-cow for spine flexibility and spine longevity. So my instruction with seated cat-cow, first step, and always the first step, is sitting up nice and tall. Sit up straight with shoulders relaxed. And ideally, if you can support yourself, not to have your back against the back of a chair.
Now that's got to be hard for a lot of your people, I would think.
But there are people who I would think was very hard, and then it isn't. So, and
then because they get used to it, and then they start to realize that they're slouching all the good.
And I ask everyone to give it a shot.
Yeah,
give it a try. And then I always mention the benefit of what any instruction I give. I describe why I'm doing this, and it's not all random. Nothing is random.
Nothing's random. Yeah. Yep.
Just sitting up tall, shoulders relaxed, not leaning against the back of the chair. This requires you to engage your core, use other muscles in your body. It's really, without even moving, it's a form of exercise, and that's good for you. So sit up tall, shoulders relaxed. We're bending from deep down here in our frontal hip bones. We're not bending from the upper back. And start a slow, steady inhale. As you bend forward, elongating the spine the entire time you're coming down. Your hands are resting on your upper thighs. You're looking straight ahead, Come down as far as you can while maintaining a long spine, and then exhale, come back up. I apologize. Let me reel this back. That's seated forward bend.
Okay.
Let's go back to cat-cow because I do them one right after another. Okay, cat-cow. Sit up tall, shoulders relaxed, hands resting in your lap. Start the slow, steady inhale, and simultaneously, your chest lifts, your shoulders go back, and you gaze up. You now have a little arch in your lower back. It automatically happens if you bring your shoulders back and lift your chest. Now exhale, reverse everything. Shoulders are rounded as you're exhaling. Chin comes to chest, lower back rounds. Inhale again. It's like a blossoming of a flower on a fast forward. Inhale, chest lift, shoulders go back, gaze up, and exhale, reverse everything. Chin to chest, bring your shoulders to the front and round your lower back. One more time. Inhale. Throughout that inhale, you're lifting your chest and your shoulders are going back and you're gazing up, and then exhale, come back to neutral. And then seated forward bend with a nice long spine. So sitting up tall. Start the inhale as you come forward, elongating your spine the entire time you're coming forward. Chin extended, gazing straight ahead. And then exhale, keeping that spine nice and long. Come up slowly and rest. So we do 3 of those. So a really good spot, a gentle but very effective spine warm-up. And then we go to lower body.
How do you do lower body? Yeah.
Lower body, okay. Very first step. Inhale, both legs straight out, and exhale, both legs back. Again, inhale, both legs out, sitting up tall, shoulders relaxed, and
exhale. So are you straightening your legs?
Yes, straight out. And then on the third one, keeping your legs straight out, you do like a little kick, like a little swivers kick. This is really just to activate all of the
blood flow. Yeah.
And then bring your feet back to the floor and let's take a breath. Inhale. Exhale. Okay. Sit up tall again. Relax your shoulders. Now extend your right leg straight out in front. If that's difficult to do.
And your heels off the floor.
Yes. Leg is straight out. This is the optimal position. But if that is too difficult to do, just get your foot off of the floor. You can have your feet bent. And now we're going to point your toes, flex your toes, point your toes, flex your toes, point your toes, flex your toes, and now bring that foot back to the floor. Do that, of course, on both sides. The major benefit of that is to increase lower leg circulation. The elderly population typically has problems with lower leg circulation in their lower legs, especially if the person has diabetes, struggles with obesity. This is a huge problem in the senior community to have decreased blood flow in the lower legs. So that's why that is really a critical.
Well, you're just waking the body up, right? And so when they go to stand, they're so much more aware of their feet, they're aware of their legs, they're aware of that they can, I mean, their mind is now reconnecting through their feet and their legs, and it hasn't been there for maybe a decade or two.
And then the second one in that similar position we do is sitting up tall, extending your right leg, and ankle circles. So making a circle with your foot, as big as you can, really articulating the circle, keeping the legs straight. The leg is not moving, just the foot. And then we pause, and then in the opposite direction and return the foot to the floor. That I have found is often in the beginning a hard connection to get the mind to understand what I'm asking you to do with your foot.
Oh,
And, it was just sort of serendipitous that I realized that was not just an issue for one or two people, but
yeah.
so I really spend time with that. And of course, I'm doing it along with the person so they can see what I'm doing. And I just try to use as much language as I can that will connect with someone's understanding of what to do.
Yeah. Well, there's so much movement of like where the toes are in relationship to the ankle, right? And a lot of people lose their toe spread, they lose their arches, they lose their foot strength.
Yes, and have limited ankle mobility, which is so critical for walking. Then I love these feet exercises, and they're easy to do, and people usually love them. My first one, my favorite, is toe scrunches. So I say, just get your feet off of the floor. It can be 1 inch. Just get your feet off the floor. Now scrunch your toes so tight. And I always say, tighter, tighter, tighter. Scrunch them and then open up your toes. Splay them open. And then I'll always get, oh, my toes don't open. I said, they may never open, but think about opening them. Just imagine that you're doing something. If you're trying, you're having an impact. So scrunch again, tight, and I always go tighter, 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 and then open. And it always makes them laugh, people in a class or one-on-one, because I get very enthusiastic about it. Because I personally, I'm a little obsessed with feet health and toe health.
Yeah.
It's like keep those feet moving and limber, and they're the key. They're the key to walking. They're the key to standing. The key to so much. So let's keep them healthy. And then the other foot exercise or movement, feet flat on the floor, get a solid stance, feet on the floor, and then we lift heels 10 times. Lift heels 1 and 2, and exaggerate the lift. And then the toes lift 10 times, an exaggerated toe lift.
And are you lifting the ball of the foot too, or just the toe?
Yes. And then I ask, when you lift your toes like that, especially when you get up to like 10, you do start feeling it in your shins. Mm-hmm. So I'll say, do you feel that in your shins? Oh yeah, I do. And that's good. Good. You want to feel that in your shins. That's stimulating circulation. That's a good thing. So I always do incorporate a lot of footwork. And then of course, when we're doing the leg extension and point and flex and circle, that's also strengthening for the entire leg, because you're asking the leg to do work, holding it up. And then we move on to knee raises. And I always start off without any weights. This is a perfect one for holding 2 pound weights in each hand, or just a 1, holding them, just placing your hands on top of the weight just to give a little extra. And then we start with alternating knee lifts, like 1 right knee, left knee, right knee.
And how hard are they trying to go? Just get the foot off the floor, or?
Just get the foot off the floor. Because I would like, ideally, is your torso to not be involved, that you're really just using lower body strength. So right knee, let me lower this a little so you can see what I'm doing. Right knee, left knee, right knee, left knee. My torso is not moving.
Right.
So I'm not trying to, do a big lift. It's getting the foot off the floor. And that is, it's a wonder. It's a hip strengthener. It's a quad strengthener. And then.
Well, and it's mimicking walking, right? Which is so important for the brain not to lose that cross-lateral stimulation.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And so we do alternating. That's usually, I start off with that because that's usually easier to process that experience. And then, of course, this always depends on a person's level of ability. then individual knees, 8 lifts with the right knee, 8 lifts with the left knee. And then, assuming that this is within somebody's wheelhouse, extending the right leg, this down a little bit, extending right leg, nice and straight leg, flexing of the toes, and then lifting the leg. It's a small movement. 1, 2, the whole leg lifts while the toes are flexed. Not easy to do, and it's a small movement. But most people—
Is the leg straight on that one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And
So it's like kind of like these ballerina type leg lifts, like where your toes are pointed or
the toes are flexed.
the toes are flexed. So you're pulling them back towards your hip.
Correct.
You're stretching out through the heel.
Yes.
And you're lifting the leg. Yeah.
Yes. Great quad strengthener.
Yeah.
And that—
Well, and people are feeling their own weight. I mean, I feel like so much of what happens with, particularly with weight gain, is people aren't feeling the weight. But as soon as you start moving and you're like, oh, my leg's heavy, like, and there's an internal feedback mechanism. Doesn't have that much to do with like the thinking mind, but it's like, there's good feedback.
Absolutely. You know, I can't believe you said it like that, because I do have one client who, during COVID, she gained a lot of weight. I didn't know her before COVID, but she has a pretty serious weight issue. And when we do any of those, that leg work, she'll say, my legs are so heavy, I can't really do that.
Yeah.
But you can. You can.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a version of it. And for as long as we can, whatever version we start with, I know that we're going to progress. And she really, really she'll be like, no, I can't do those knee lifts. I said, I'm asking you to clear the floor 1/4 of an inch. And we laugh. And I said, come on, I know you can do it. And now she does it. Now she's clearing it about 3 inches. So, but Kate, your insight that is really spot on. Is there are so many seniors who just are really not in touch with their body.
Yeah.
And they're just accustomed to, you know, getting through a day, and whatever movements are required, you do them automatically without thinking. This is why when I stated at the beginning, I really want to demystify the yoga experience.
Yeah.
People who, you know, didn't come to it when they were 25 or 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enthusiastically. I don't have to talk about the mind-body experience. I show it. And then because we talk about how each of these things is making us feel. And it's usually making you feel good and feel better.
Yeah.
And it allows one to really progress. And everyone wants to progress. Everyone wants to do a little bit better each time.
Well, and the cool thing about the population that you're working with is they have time.
Yes, they do. They absolutely have time. And they are being inundated and bombarded with messaging about getting healthy or staying healthy, getting healthy. And it is, but if you've never really pursued that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, you don't use your time wisely. No, I get it.
No idea how to begin and how to start.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's why I get a huge kick out of introducing these experiences to people who never had them before.
Yeah. And wouldn't have them unless you introduce them, most likely.
I had one client in her 80s. She was, turned out that back when she was a young woman, she was a real activist, which spoke to me. I loved it. And she would tell me that she'd go to, when she was like in her 30s, all these kind of protest marches and was always carrying signs. And so she was confined to a wheelchair. She could stand up with help, but her prognosis was that she should be able to walk. Let's get her, encourage her to get up out of that chair and move. So what I ended up doing with her, I would play Bob Marley and his song, Stand Up, Get Up, And I'd say, all right, come on, stand up. She knew the song. Get her out of her chair, and we would dance, just holding hands and moving. And I said, bend your knees, just bend your knees, to Bob Marley. And it was great. I mean, she, as someone who was very depressed,
Yeah.
laughing, smiling, and then I would, God bless Spotify, I create a playlist for every one of my clients.
Oh,
They
nice.
music that speaks to them.
Yeah.
And I got all of those old Pete Seeger and all those folk singers, which I could access all on Spotify. Created this great 50s activist playlist where we would move and dance. So it's anyone who, now right now, I live in New York City in an apartment. I have 3 months on, 3 months off. My 96-year-old mother lives with me.
Mm.
And that's a fairly new experience. And she's like my guinea pig.
Mm.
I'm sure she's not happy about that, but I'm experimenting with her as I'm sitting in her seat right now.
I'm just thinking like every parent of a yogi can commiserate. Yeah.
This is like, oh, leave me alone. And so it's something, if you want to bring this into your parents' life, and please be reminded, I work, and I still work every week with people with advanced dementia.
Yeah.
There is no illness that should prevent one from trying something. And I've had blind clients where I just take their hands and we lock hands, and I move their arms and then their legs where they can't see me.
Yeah.
And I just move them through poses. And there is a way to reach everyone who is either elderly or not, and maybe a recent hip replacement or knee replacement.
Yeah. There's lots of people in chairs.
Absolutely.
I mean, and there's a lot of obese people that are young who are spending a lot of time in chairs.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And I have two, one a friend and one a client who have MS. And up until their diagnosis, they were avid athletes and very physically adept and trim and healthy, and then get hit with this kind of a illness. And balance is a big issue for people with Parkinson's and MS. And so being able to sit down, take the fear out of the picture, just get it off the slate, which is a driving force.
Yeah, I'm really getting that. I mean, and it's something that I think we are, where modern yoga teachers are maybe a lot less, who might have shorter, faster trainings, are a lot less aware of the need for a grounded, safe space and an accessible entry into practice. Yeah, I'm really getting that loud and clear from you, which is such a great message for everyone to hear. So with dementia, any tips or what are the core learnings that you've had when working with people with dementia?
One very typical aspect of kind of across the dementia diagnosis is the ability to mimic. And so it's not comprehending the word, it's mimicking. So
it's all very physical. It's all eyes open, very much watching and doing.
Absolutely. So definitely use the words to describe, but to sit close, chair opposite. And for example, inhale your arm up and exhale your arm down. Other arm, inhale your arm up and exhale slowly and bring your arm down slowly. Make sure there is the visual connection. Who's watching you? Do everything that you need to do to engage on some level, and then do all of the movements close. And you might do little hands-on, like take on arm and pull it up, but the mimic element is by far the single most important factor.
And you're always mirroring. So opposite, you're sitting face to face. So you're doing right arm, they're doing left arm. Yeah. Okay.
I messed up on that, but it's an ongoing struggle for me to walk properly. And some people need it, some people don't, and then I forget. But
Yeah.
yes, but and dementia is so pervasive now that
Yeah. Well, and projected to get worse, right? Where we have these corollaries with diabetes and chronic inflammation and that increasing in our global population, including the elderly population.
Getting people with dementia to move is even more critical than the kind of baseline senior population, because the disease itself is it causes the body to really kind of close in on itself. Hands become fingers, often aren't extended.
Yeah, become like claws.
Shoulders are rounding, chin is coming into the chest. So move, just opening, literally just opening up the chest and the hands and the arms is so important. So that's a community, the dementia community is really, it's critical to get them moving. Music, I mentioned it before.
Yeah.
You don't know how to use Spotify, figure it out. Look at me. I'm sure Apple Music and whatever you use, but the library of music is phenomenal. Find music that speaks, especially people with dementia.
Yeah.
Back to the music from the 30s and
yeah.
40s, and that makes the music connection is so powerful. So, so play music that they'll recognize and from way back and enjoy. I have seen so many situations where people who have become literally mute don't at all. An old song will be played and then they'll start literally singing it, not just recognizing and remembering the words.
Do you know the book Counterclockwise by Ellen Langer?
I don't.
This is an interesting book that they took in this experiment. They brought a few people, I believe in their 70s or 80s. And they recreated an atmosphere that was like they were when they were in their 20s and 30s. And they found that their neural pathways just like lit up, their brain lit up, their cognitive function increased, and they just mimicked an environment. The music was big, the clothing, all the stimulations of like even how people talked, because our language changes all the time and we don't realize it. But people in the 50s talk different than people in 2020 and et cetera. Right. And they just mimic that. And it was like, oh my gosh, you can make people young again just by putting them in the environment of their youth.
That's amazing.
But you're doing that. Like, and I so see that in what you're doing is like, you're tuning them into their channel when they were alive and their brain remembers what it was like to be alive. And you're getting them moving and creating new neural networks and in their mind-body connection. And all of a sudden they start to have more capacity.
Absolutely.
Okay. So do you want to talk a little bit? I know we're going on and it's awesome. Do you want to talk a little bit about twisting? Because I know this is big.
Twisting for digestion. Twisting's for a lot of things, but with my typical audience, digestion is often an issue.
Yeah, because they are sedentary and so their digestion's slow.
Correct.
And are they overeating or not? Like typically.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm curious about that too. It's like the more people do yoga, often they start to eat less. They start to realize they don't need as much because they feel fuller on the inside from the vibration of fullness. And so they need less of that feeling of the stomach stretching fullness.
Unfortunately, that doesn't happen enough.
Yeah.
What you just described.
Yeah.
But twisting, I do two basic twists. And depending on where they are or where a person is physically. The classic twist is sitting up nice and tall, shoulders are relaxed, knees and toes pointed straight ahead, and those knees and toes stay pointed straight ahead. They don't come along for any of the ride. So arms straight out to the side, relax your shoulders, sit up tall. On the slow, steady inhale, twist your body, your torso to your right. Your head goes along with your spine. And exhale, come through center, slowly and gently, and then twist to your left. Nice. Inhale again, coming through center. Remember, your knees and toes are pointed straight ahead. Twist to your right. Exhale your breath as you come through center and twist to your left. And now just breathe naturally and nice and slow. Keep twisting. A nice continuous twist flow. And then when you're done, bring your hands back in your lap and rest. The other one, very similar, but not everyone can do this. A lot of people have shoulder issues. Inhale your arms straight up. Knees and toes pointed straight ahead. Keep them there. And inhale as you twist to your right. Exhale your breath as you come through center and twist to your left. So I use that in conjunction. Most people can do the arms straight out.
Yeah.
It's a little more difficult to raise your arms overhead. But if a person can do that arms raised straight overhead, then I'll do both with that person. Because
but I mean, that's just, I would imagine for so many people that just feels so good to take their arms just to the side or over their head and feel how long their side bodies get and to feel oxygen come in. And
exactly.
Awesome. Do you find that, I mean, I would think that being a chair yoga teacher, that you find that how you sit and the equilateral, the bilateral symmetry, that you sit more in bilateral symmetry than like a leg crossed or weight on one side. Because I know a lot of, it's like a lot of people look at their car seat, their driver's seat, or they'll look at their chair at work and they'll be like, whoa, like one side has a divot and the other side doesn't. It's like when we look at the bottom of our shoes to see where our weight distribution is. So do you find in general, like you're much more relaxed with the bilateral symmetry, that it's something that accumulates?
Yes, absolutely. And my recommendation in terms of working in a chair is a nice, it would be armless if that's accessible. Nice hard back chair, not a cushy chair, no cushy seat. Ideal. Yeah. That's ideal.
Yeah.
And then we step back from there and working opposite each other, as close as we can be, where we both can extend a leg and not crash into each other. Yes, and then just that whole kind of visual kind of sense of mirroring is it's good. It's helps an environment with the least amount of distractions.
Yeah. Awesome. Lynn, this has been really informative. I know our listeners are going to have a lot to explore, both, in helping the people around them and also for themselves, because we can all do a little chair yoga. No doubt. Yeah, that felt great. I'm psyched. I want to teach my team, mostly who have people who have desk jobs, just to share a few things that you shared with us. So I just want to point everyone to your book again. It's Chair Yoga for Seniors, Stretches and Poses that you can do sitting down at home with Lynn Lehmkuhl. Yeah. Thanks so much, Lynn, for sharing your spirit with us. I think more than anything, just like your love of helping people explore themselves at any age with any condition, that's just a very contagious feeling. And I wish every community had a Lynn Lehmkuhl. Yeah, truly. Because like the world needs a lot more of you out there.
That crazy person who was back in the 90s saying, have you tried yoga? It'd be like, oh no, not again. I've been promoting this more than half of my life because it really is a powerful experience.
Yeah.
Everyone can experience it. Thanks.
Yeah. Awesome.